The cosmic man stands as one of the oldest and most ancient archetypes found within the collective unconscious of all human beings. This archetype manifests itself in a wide variety of creation myths, leaving us with a profound mystery regarding its true age. The cosmic man symbolizes oneness, the awareness of non-duality, unity, wholeness, and merging with the universe, which is our ultimate goal. The cosmic man appears in a wide variety of cultures, such as Adam Kadmon, the heavenly man in Jewish mysticism, Ymir, the first giant in Norse mythology, and Purusha, the pure cosmic consciousness in Indian philosophy. Generally, the cosmic man is described as helpful or positive and serves as a seed for the creation of the world. He represents the oneness of human existence, or the universe. The cosmic man is not just the beginning, but also the final goal of life or creation. The purpose of the cosmic man extends beyond the realm of the physical. It refers to the identification of the conscious ego with the self. The cosmic man is a symbol of self in the Jungian archetypes and is part of the goal of individuation for the individual and the collective. The self, according to Carl Jung, signifies the unification of consciousness and unconsciousness in a person and representing the psyche as a whole. It is realized as the product of individuation, which in his view is the process of integrating various aspects of one's personality. The purpose of individuation is to bring about wholeness in the individual. Wholeness suggests that one is able to fulfill one's destiny and vocation. Wholeness allows the individual to be authentic in the world, thereby avoiding using only the persona or the mask. We essentially crucify our ego, and by becoming more accepting of ourselves, become more accepting of others. Individuation is the one meant with oneself and at the same time with humanity, since oneself is a part of humanity. The process of individuation in cosmic man is often part of creation, but can take place after death. The cosmic man archetype combines masculine and feminine, or anima and animus, and thus can be viewed as hermaphroditic. Physical features include a primordial cosmic giant that goes through the process of individuation. The process can include dismemberment, plant or animal qualities, and a quaternary structure. Cosmic man contains aspects of an archaic identity. Ideas and emotional values are part of a collective unconscious agreement, creating a primordial bond between elements, plants, animals, and humans. After death, parts of his body became physical parts of the universe. In Norse mythology, Ymir, also named Orgelmir among the giants themselves, was the founder of the race of frost giants. The first being and ancestor of all Jotnar, a giant who was created from the drops of water that formed when the ice of Niflheim met the heat of Muspelheim. Snorri Sturluson, an Icelandic historian, poet and politician who lived between the 12th and 13th centuries, combined several sources, along with some of his own conclusions, to explain Ymir's role in the Norse creation myth. The main sources available are the great Eddic poem Völuspá, the question and answer poem Grimnismal, and the question and answer poem Vafthrudnismal. Völuspá opens with the Norse account of the creation of the present universe. Old tales I remember of men long ago. I remember yet the giants of lore. Of old was the age when Ymir lived. No sea nor cool waves nor sand there were. Earth had not been nor heaven above, only a yawning gap and grass nowhere. According to these poems, in the beginning there was nothing except for the ice of Niflheim to the north and the fire of Muspelheim to the south. Between them there was a vast yawning gap called Ginnungagap, the primordial void that existed prior to the creation of the manifest universe. Ymir, the first sentient being, came into existence, birthed from the drops of venom that dripped from the icy rivers of Elivagar into the great and grassless void of Ginnungagap, the primordial void. It is said that while Ymir slept, the sweat under his arms became two more giants, one male and one female, and one of his legs mated with the other to create a third. These were the forebearers of the family of frost giants. They were nursed by the cow giant Audumbla, who, like Ymir, was created from the melting ice in Ginnungagap. Audumbla herself fed on a block of salty ice, and her licking sculpted it into the shape of a man who became Buri, the ancestor of the gods and the grandfather of Odin. Buri fathered Bor, and Bor fathered three sons, the gods Vili and Ve and Odin. These brothers killed the giant Ymir and unleashed a vast flood from Ymir's blood, killing all the frost giants. Odin and his brothers used Ymir's lifeless body to create the universe. They carried it to the center of Ginnungagap, and there they ground his flesh into dirt. The maggots that appeared in his flesh became the dwarves that live under the earth. His bones became the mountains, his teeth rocks and pebbles. Odin strewed Ymir's brains into the sky to create the clouds, and took sparks and embers from Muspelheim for the sun, moon and stars. The gods placed 4 dwarves to hold up Ymir's skull and create the heavens. The 3 gods created the first human beings, Ask from a fallen ash tree and Embla from a fallen elm. Odin breathed life into them, Vili granted them intelligence, and Ve gave them vision and hearing. They dwelled in the realm the gods created from Ymir's eyebrows, Midgard, where the human race could live safe. Ymir's existence served as a catalyst for the creation of the world, by providing the materials and elements necessary for the gods to shape and form the cosmos. In Jewish mysticism, specifically in Kabbalah, which is an esoteric method, discipline, and school of thought, such a cosmic man is referred to as Adam Kadmon, also known as the heavenly man or the primordial man. It is important to mention that Adam Kadmon is not the same as the physical first man, Adam HaRishon. The 2 words which form the name Adam Kadmon allude to its paradoxical nature of being, on the one hand, a created being, Adam, while on the other hand, a manifestation of primordial divinity Kadmon. Jewish Kabbalah is a set of esoteric teachings meant to explain the relationship between the unchanging, eternal God, the mysterious Ein Sof, the infinite, and the mortal, finite universe, God's creation. It forms the foundation of mystical religious interpretations within Judaism. In Kabbalah, before creation began, all that existed was God's infinite light. The first stage of creation began when God contracted his infinite light to create the vacuum. Then a ray of divine light penetrated the vacuum, and the persona of Adam Kadmon was projected into the vacuum. The first stage of Adam Kadmon was in the form of 10 concentric circles, which emanated from the ray. The ray of light was then enclosed by the anthropomorphic form of Adam Kadmon, which is a realm of infinite divine light without vessels, constrained by its potential to create future existence. Kabbalah uses anthropomorphic mythic symbols to metaphorically describe manifestations of God in Judaism. The description of Adam Kadmon is anthropomorphic. Nevertheless, Adam Kadmon is divine light without vessels, meaning it represents pure potential. In the human psyche, Adam Kadmon corresponds to the Yekidah, which is the collective essence of the soul or the world soul. The first person to use the expression heavenly man was Philo. In his view, the heavenly man, as being born in the image of God, has no participation in any corruptible or earth-like essence, whereas the earthly man is made of loose material called a lump of clay. The heavenly man, as the perfect image of the Word or Logos, is neither man nor woman, but an incorporeal intelligence, purely an idea, while the earthly man, who was created by God later, is perceptible to the senses and partakes of earthly qualities. Adam Kadmon, or the soul of Adam HaRishon, the first man, was the supreme essence of mankind, containing within it all subsequent souls. Adam Kadmon is not thought of as an actual person. According to mystics, Adam Kadmon is the interface of all creation, the imprint of God, and the first creation. The heavenly man represents humanity when we have attained the highest level of soul consciousness, which is both the original ideal and our final destination. The Corpus Hermeticum, which is a collection of 17 Greek writings whose authorship is traditionally attributed to the legendary Hellenistic figure Hermes Trismegistus, a syncretic combination of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian god Thoth. A creation story is told by the omnipresent mind to Hermes. The All-Mind showed Hermes Trismegistus a vision of creation. In the beginning there was infinite and limitless light, from which came forth an intense darkness that became moist matter, the primordial matter. Out of this first matter sprang forth the 4 elements of fire, air, water, and earth. At this point all matter existed in a form of chaos. It was simply moist nature, formless and unorganized. But then the All-Mind, who was the limitless light and the will behind all causes, spoke a word, Logos, into the chaos. That word, Logos, which was the son of the Father God, then organized the chaotic matter into the cosmos, forming the earth and the 7 rulers, the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. It was explained to Hermes that these 7 rulers govern the destinies of men. After matter was formed, the All-Mind then created man, hermaphroditic, in his own image, and handed over his creation. And when the soul of man saw his own reflection in the waters of earth, he fell in love with it, and wanted to dwell there in the moist matter where he beheld his image. His will then made it so, and he descended down through the 7 heavens, accumulating attributes from each of the 7 planets on his way down, and then he landed on Earth, where he finally became fully encased in matter, incarnated into human form and subject to all the cycles and vicissitudes of life. Man immediately became a slave to its limitations such as gender and sleep. Man thus became speechless, for it lost the word logos, and became double, being mortal in body but immortal in spirit, having authority of all but subject to destiny. There he would endure reincarnation after reincarnation until he achieved gnosis, a true knowledge of himself and his divine origin. Only then could the human soul be liberated from the corporeal body it had been encased in, freed from the cycle of reincarnation and reintegrated with God. In some ways, the Hermetic creation myth is similar to the story of Adam and Eve and their fall from the Garden of Eden. The reason for the fall is the same in both stories. It was because of selfish pride, the first sin. The Hermetic concept of the soul needing to be liberated from the body is much like the Gnostic concept of the soul being imprisoned in matter, and the Hindu belief that a person will continue to be reincarnated until they reach moksha. According to the legend, God charged Hermes Trismegistus with the duty to teach mankind the doctrine of liberation and reintegration by gnosis, so mankind can realize their heavenly origin inside themselves and remember the divine that they have forgotten. As above, so below, emphasized by Hermes Trismegistus, is a renowned principle that reminds mankind of their origins and underscores the interconnectedness between the microcosm and the macrocosm. The concept of microcosm and macrocosm views man as a smaller representation of the universe and the universe as an anthropomorphic existence. The microcosm-macrocosm analogy refers to a historical view which posited a structural similarity between the human being, the microcosm, which is the small order or the small universe, and the cosmos as a whole, the macrocosm, which is the great order or the great universe. Given this fundamental analogy, truths about the nature of the cosmos as a whole may be inferred from truths about human nature and vice versa. One important corollary of this view is that the cosmos as a whole may be considered to be alive, and thus to have a mind or soul, the world soul, a position advanced by Plato in his Timaeus. Moreover, this cosmic mind or soul was often thought to be divine, most notably by the Stoics and those who were influenced by them, such as the authors of the Hermetic teachings. Hence, it was inferred that the human mind or soul was divine in nature as well. The Hermetic phrase, as above, so below, represents the law of macrocosm and microcosm. That which is above is like that which is below, and that which is below is like that which is above. It can also be expressed as within, so without. This means that whatever happens inside us will manifest outside of us. This is a universal law. If you are happy inside, your outer world will reflect your inner world. This principle embodies the truth that there is always a correspondence between the laws and phenomena of the various planes of being and life. This principle is of universal application and manifestation on the various planes of the material, mental, and spiritual universe. It is an universal law. This truth is a truth because all that is included in the universe emanates from the same source, and the same laws, principles, and characteristics apply to each unit or combination of units of activity as each manifests its own phenomena upon its own plane. Just as a knowledge of the principles of geometry enables man to measure distant suns and their movements while seated in his observatory, so a knowledge of this principle enables man to reason intelligently from the known to the unknown. The Neoplatonist Plotinus conceived the cosmos and human being not as totally separated beings but as a continuous existence. The soul and body, immortal and mortal, or spirituality and materiality, were conceived as one fused existence, and this fusion of spirituality and materiality was applied to all beings. In Plotinus's metaphysics, every being is both spiritual and material, and each being manifests these natures in varying degrees. Plotinus developed a clearer concept of the world soul. From the world soul proceeds individual human souls, and finally, matter at the lowest level of being and thus the least perfected level of the cosmos. Despite this relatively pedestrian assessment of the material world, Plotinus asserted the ultimately divine nature of material creation, since it ultimately derives from the one source. It is by the good, or through beauty, that we recognize the one, in material things and then in the forms. Based upon the idea of continuity between the cosmos and man, and between spirituality and materiality, mystic union between man and the cosmic deity became an important religious practice for Plotinus. The whole idea is very similar to the Hindu belief that a person's ultimate goal in life is to reach a level of consciousness where they are able to understand the relationship between the divine Purusha and man. The Hindus refer to this elevated state of consciousness as moksha. They believe that once a person achieves moksha, they will finally be able to reunite with the cosmic consciousness or the world soul. The archetype of the Redeemer God and original man is age-old. We simply do not know how old. The Son, the revealed God who voluntarily or involuntarily offers himself for sacrifice as a man in order to create the world or redeem it from evil, can be traced back to Purusha of Indian philosophy. In the early Vedas, Purusha was a cosmic being whose sacrifice created all life. As the creator, Purusha sacrifices himself in order to bring the world into being, dissolving within his own creation. This was one of many creation myths discussed in the Vedas. The abstract idea of Purusha is extensively discussed in various Upanishads and referred to interchangeably as Paramatman and Brahman. In the Upanishads and subsequent texts of Hindu philosophy, the concept of Purusha evolved into a more complex abstraction, no longer being understood as an actual person, which is very similar to the Jewish heavenly man, Adam Kadmon. Splendid and without a bodily form is this Purusha, without and within, unborn, without life, breath, and without mind, higher than the supreme element. From him are born life, breath, and mind. He is the soul of all beings. In the Upanishads, the Purusha concept refers to the abstract essence of the self, spirit, and the universal principle that is eternal, indestructible, without form, and is all-pervasive. In Samkhya philosophy, Purusha is the plural, immobile cosmic principle, pure consciousness, unattached and unrelated to anything, which is non-active, unchanging, eternal, and pure. Purusha is the transcendental self. It is absolute, independent, free, imperceptible, unknowable through other agencies, above any experience by mind or senses, and beyond any words or explanations. It remains pure, non-attributive consciousness. Both the Samkhya and Yoga schools hold that the path to moksha, which is the liberation from the cycle of death and rebirth, includes the realization of Purusha. Yoga philosophy state that there are two ultimate realities whose interaction accounts for all experiences and universe, namely Purusha, the spirit, and Prakriti, the matter. The universe is envisioned as a combination of perceivable material reality and non-perceivable, non-material laws and principles of nature. Material reality, or Prakriti, is everything that has changed, can change, and is subject to cause and effect. Universal principle, or Purusha, is that which is unchanging and is uncaused. According to yoga, Purusha is the true self that we must seek to know, to truly be who we are, to become a real person. Purusha is the immortal inner being representing self-awareness. The realization of inner Purusha takes you beyond time, space, karma, birth and death, leading to enduring bliss. In Hinduism, it is believed that all living beings are connected through a shared divine essence. The Hindu concept of Purusha is very similar to Carl Jung's idea of the collective unconscious. According to Jung, the collective unconscious is a shared psychic repository that contains the memories, myths, and archetypes common to all human beings. The collective unconscious connects all individuals by containing universal psychic structures that influence the thoughts, emotions, and behaviors of every human being. And the essential thing psychologically is that in dreams, fantasies, and other exceptional states of mind, the most far-fetched mythological motifs and symbols can appear autochthonously at any time, often apparently as the result of particular influences, traditions, and excitations working on the individual, but more often without any sign of them. These primordial images, or archetypes, as I have called them, belong to the basic stock of the unconscious psyche and cannot be explained as personal acquisitions. Together, they make up that psychic stratum which has been called the collective unconscious. The existence of the collective unconscious means that individual consciousness is anything but a tabula rasa and is not immune to predetermining influences. On the contrary, it is in the highest degree influenced by inherited presuppositions, quite apart from the unavoidable influences exerted upon it by the environment. The collective unconscious comprises in itself the psychic life of our ancestors right back to the earliest beginnings. It is the matrix of all conscious psychic occurrences. and hence it exerts an influence that compromises the freedom of consciousness in the highest degree, since it is continually striving to lead all conscious processes back into the old paths. This collective unconscious does not develop individually but is inherited. It consists of pre-existent forms, the archetypes, which can only become conscious secondarily and which give definite form to certain psychic contents. Purusha as a metaphysical concept refers to the single binding unity behind diversity in all that exists in the universe. In deep trance-like states, the wise men of the East realize Purusha, a type of consciousness that is beyond functions. This enables them to unearth insights of the greatest arcane significance from the depths of the collective unconscious. Jung's work is deeply influenced and intertwined with the ancient wisdom of Hindu spirituality and philosophy, and his theories of the human psyche were profoundly influenced by the spiritual and philosophical insights of this rich tradition. Carl Jung was an avid reader of various religious and spiritual texts, including the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, and the Yoga Sutras. He believed that the wisdom of the East could provide valuable insights into the human psyche and offer a complementary perspective to Western psychological theories. This fascination with Eastern thought can be seen throughout his work, where he frequently drew upon the ideas and concepts of Hinduism and other Eastern traditions. The concept of the collective unconscious is one of the most significant parallels between Jungian psychology and Hinduism. Jung disagreed with certain ideas in Indian traditions such as Buddhism and Vedanta, when these traditions assert that the individual is able to achieve complete liberation from the personal ego, the way that they achieve moksha or achieve nirvana. On this point of disagreement, Jung's philosophical outlook is distinctly Western in the sense that he asserts that any complete negation of the personal ego is by definition impossible. As Jung would have it, should a Hindu or Buddhist master actually succeed in shedding the personal ego entirely, he would soon find himself in a state of psychic death. Jung's argument against the possibility of nirvana or moksha is that it is by definition impossible, and though he warned us against trusting too much in reason or science as the only ways of knowing, Jung's argument against the possibility of a state of consciousness devoid of the personal ego actually seems to do just that. Jung appears to draw the logical distinction between a subject-bound experience of reality and then reality in itself. Jung agrees that there exists a supreme mode of consciousness in which the personal ego does not exist. In other words, Jung agrees that there is such a state as supreme consciousness beyond the functions, which is Purusha, but he denies that this state is devoid of the notion of a personal ego. According to the Eastern mystics, in the supreme state of consciousness, we are beyond the mundane reifying functions that provide us with skewed perceptions and judgments fitted to the understanding of our personal subject. In this state we perceive only Purusha as the singular and supreme object, devoid of all difference, and it follows then that in this state of consciousness the personal subject too is simply a part of the Supreme One, the unity that has no duality and no knower. In other words, it is a state of consciousness where the knower gets lost in the known. In this consciousness there is only a supreme intuition without the slightest trace of distinction between subject and object, thus leaving no place for the personal ego at all. In Hinduism, the ultimate goal of human life is to achieve moksha, or liberation from the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Moksha is attained through the realization of the true nature of the self. The process of achieving moksha involves various spiritual practices, such as meditation, self-reflection, and self-discipline, which help an individual to gradually dissolve their ego and awaken to their true, divine nature. Jung held the belief that the most important task in our lives is the process of individuation, which serves to forge a profound connection with the self. The process of individuation involves an individual becoming a distinct, integrated, and whole person by recognizing, accepting, and integrating the various aspects of their psyche, including the unconscious and its archetypes, and bringing them into consciousness. This process leads to a more profound understanding of the self and a greater capacity for self-realization and personal growth. The contents of the unconscious can be explored through self-reflection, dreams, and active imagination. While the ultimate aims of moksha, nirvana, and individuation may differ, there are striking similarities between these processes. Each involve a deep exploration of the self and a journey towards self-realization and spiritual growth. In each cases, the individual must confront and integrate various aspects of their psyche in order to achieve a state of wholeness and balance, which is the purpose of the cosmic man. Across cultures, the cosmic man embodies a mystical essence. This celestial being, depicted as a primordial cosmic giant undergoing a mystical metamorphosis, symbolizes our inherent need for self-transformation. The cosmic man's purpose transcends the mere physical. It encapsulates the profound yearning for unity between the conscious ego and the self. It beckons individuals to venture into the depths of their being, shedding societal masks and embracing their hidden aspects within. As one delves into the mysteries of the cosmic man, the boundaries of the known dissolve, and the journey towards individuation becomes a captivating odyssey of self-discovery, ultimately unraveling the secrets of one's unique existence in the universe.